Political chumps. Yo, Khalid. Political chumps always clapping at lectures, won't take notes. Can't speak on what they know, they just quote. Civil rights lawyers won't tell blacks the truth or the difference between in for life or civil lit or mortus. Impropria persona, it's 2014. Blacks act like their brains on morphine. Think less, do little law studies. My more buddies wanna write a book for law dummies, cause they don't get it like teaching caveman rocket science. Politicians rule minorities within your pocket science. Pulling out dollars to give to those in white collars. Salivating, waiting for your green up college. Calling themselves poor, but they spending millions and billions on everything but their own children. He was a good boy to mom on the couch living, but a heartless criminal and known villain. Political chump, treated like a political skunk, marching and picketing for civil-political junk. Wars of the crown, states they break, but won't respect nationality or their prophet's face. Not talking Muhammad, Yahshua or Buddha, but the Sharif they call Sheriff the Law Tutor. Founded a civic organization to build a nation, eradicating what the blacks were facing. Segregation, Jim Crow laws, enter through back doors and led on. They using rope as weapons, cause I slipped and touched a cave bitch wrist. They bomb my town and label me a rapist. I wasn't a secret, everybody saw, but to my people they never kill crackers but fighting their wars. To kill innocent people that did nothing to them, and only cuss out the ones that did something to them. Distract you from your nation with false fear. Some black leaders are paid sellouts and some face crosshairs for speaking of things when they took an oath not to speak, giving you clues like promised lands and mountain peaks. Political champions, proud of championship belts. Political abuse against druids and celts, thinking that state ID makes you a citizen. Conscious Moors talk, unconscious Moors aren't listening. Thinking they can have rights or get rights or earn rights when rights are exercised by those that live on earth, right? And rights come from human rights and human rights from birthrights. Have none and end up facing US Third Reich.
But once you go and go into them saying, well, doesn't that, and you ask them, well, doesn't that also represent the activation of the pineal gland? Then they'll start, once you talk to them on that level, they'll start, divulging information to you. All right? Because now they know that, Kareem and I were in Hindustan right now, and we were giving this lecture, to Hindustanis. We breaking this down to them. All right? It's one culture. See, look, I'm showing you here. Now, here's showing you here. All right? Ayah Faru. Making this connection here. So that what I'm doing is eradicating, challenging the false paradigm called multiculturalism. All right? Say, well, that's different culture. Look at that. That's different culture. That's in Egypt, and that's in India. That's different culture. They already know that you can't see. That's still called divide and conquer. That paradigm is called psychological warfare. So they create false paradigms of gotten us thinking that nationalities or identities are based in skin tone, skin complexion. All right? Another thing, that these different symbols are not related or connected. Once you understand the common origin, common thread of the various symbols and be able, it can show how they're related, you can bring about world harmony and world peace. Look, that's the pine cone. So they wearing your headdress and your garb. It's the pine cone.
I want to ask you, brother, because the brother going in, he's going in on black, and why we don't need to call ourselves black. Why do you, Brother.Larry, constantly call yourself black? You're not black like my chair. You're not black like my leather coat. Why you constantly keep calling yourself black?
You want me to talk now?
You can talk, brother.
Okay, first of all, black in America is a political reality, right? It is total opposition or diametric opposition to white supremacy. This is why we said it. When we got militant, we start saying we black because the enemy is describing themselves as white. It's not complicated. We don't think we're black, right? That is to me, that's a straw man argument that people don't want to, they don't want to deal with real issues, so they deal with that, right? See, on the continent of Africa today, right, the people will tell you that they're black. Why? Because they have a historical conflict with people who describe themselves as white, right?
What do you guys think about political correctness?
What do you think, Morgan? Is this political correctness gone too far?
Yeah. I mean, we have a tendency to do that anyway. I mean, you get politically correct. Stuff happens that you want to happen. I all of a sudden became an African. Political correctness, African American. I'm not African. An American. I'm not African. An American.
Conscious. Sarnetta sat down with Taj Bey one-on-one. Suit and Yeti is my target, Aleem Bey is my gun. All I do is crush a lot truth. My big pun and Fat Joe falling on you 50 feet below. Mike Fatso, Mark conscious coons, frauds up with my firing squad. Tugging at emotions hard like sleeping, pulling a quad. Larry's no professor, show me some doctorate degrees, son. We'll listen to I'm African crap until I see one. I'm not asking for much, cause I give
Analysis of thought in the use of the word black. It's just a word, right? Now, in the absence of knowledge that plagued our communities after the plantation slavery epoch, right? There was complete and total, almost absolute ignorance on the part of a lot of people, right? So they gravitated towards words that they were being called by others. Nigger, colored, Negro, whatever, right? They gravitated towards these words. But at the same time, notice that the enemy is calling himself white. So now, when we stood up militantly, Stokely Carmichael, Kwame, and Nkrumah, right? When we stood up militantly and we stuck our fingers in their face and said, you want white power, we want black power. That's...
Now just keep in mind that Stokely Carmichael is Kwame Ture, not Kwame Nkrumah. Just want to put that correction in there for people who don't want to correct the professor, Brother.Larry. Pulling a quad, Larry's no professor, show me some doctorate degrees, son. We'll listen to I'm African crap until I see one. I'm not asking.
Where black power came from. When Marcus Garvey said that if the white man says this, then we as the black man say this, right?
And anytime you call a people by their right name, anytime you call a people, name a people, and fail to relate them to land, history, and culture, you have called them out of their name. There's no black man or black hole of them. There's nothing wrong with the word black. Nothing wrong with it at all. Only it doesn't relate to a country. The name of every people in the world relate to country. And once you think instantaneously of land, you think of nationality. You belong to something big in the world.
That is militancy talking, right? Don't think of it in any other way, okay? We know that we're not black. We have brown hair, brown eyes, and brown skin. But we also realize that we are steeped neck deep in psychology in this environment. Part of that psychology is to try to make us feel like we are less than, we are inferior. So you got people that run to these white man books and try to use the white man's language to say that this is what we're saying, when clearly anyone who hears black people talk knows that they are not speaking dictionary English.
Say, well, that's different culture. Look at that. That's different culture. That's in Egypt and that's in India. That's different culture. They already know that you can't see. That's still called divide and conquer. That paradigm is called psychological warfare. So they create false paradigms of gotten us thinking that nationalities or identities are based in skin tone, skin complexion.
We are a nation, within a nation in this country, searching for a nationality. And once we find our nationality and serve that nationality, we'll do for ourselves what needs to be done. All ethnic groups in this country understand they got a nationality. Because you answer to such stupid words like Negro and colored and black. You have no nationality. Negro is not a nationality. Some lazy Portuguese or Spaniard took an adjective and made a noun out of it. Colored is not a nationality. Black tells you how you look, but it don't tell you who you are. Right. The name of a people must relate them instantaneously to land, history, and culture. And anytime you call a people by their right name, anytime you call a people, name a people, and fail to relate them to land, history, and culture, you have called them out of their name. There's no black man or black hole of them. There's nothing wrong with the word black. Nothing wrong with it at all. Only it doesn't relate to a country. The name of every people in the world relate to country. And once you think instantaneously of land, you think of nationality. You belong to something.
So now they're going to bring in the concept of the lost tribes, which they're going to say one of them is the Hebrew tribe. When we look at the Hebrews and we see them point to Moses as, the guy for their stuff, right? Scholars will tell you that Moses is Amos, Moses, who's from Egypt. So that's why you have Raiders of the Lost Ark and all those movies being over here, where they're finding all this Egyptian stuff. National Treasure, over here, where they're finding all this Egyptian stuff. And the whole Hebrew myth, it becomes dissolved, because we already know that there's no such thing as nobody called Hebrew Israelites or anything like that. Hebrew's a language. Israelites are Ben Ishmael Morris. They're not some other people, right? Smithsonian Institute, getting rid of all these artifacts that they found in the Grand Canyon that tie over here to a place called Egypt. But they're talking about over here. And then when you check the records of the Smithsonian Institute, whatever they got left, they'll tell you that it's dark-skinned people.
So-called Pittsburgh was one of them. And we saw some buildings, and there was no denying when you get close up on the building, they had like these little gates, whereas it's concrete, you're talking about the street, and then when you get up on the building, there's like a gate, no different than the cellar that goes, like an outdoor cellar. But when you look down the gate, there's 2 stories of windows, which means that that's not the foundation. You know what I mean? It's 2 stories under that, which still, you know, show that there was other purposes for those buildings and that they're more ancient than what they're claiming to be. So as we all know, we are the true Americans. We are the Alamo-Rockians, and this is our ancestral state. And if I could correlate what that means in any sense, is that we are really the only ones that have territorial jurisdiction, regardless of what Europeans claim. Like, they claim that this area is Ohio, but we know when we do the history that our ancestors used that appellation to refer to something beautiful. Also, while we're here, on the way up, it was just itching my brain to know, what does Cincinnati even mean? Like, we're going to quote Cincinnati. What does it mean? And from what I got back from it, it meant curly hair. That's what I got back from it. I don't know if you all researched it being out there, but it stood out to me because we are the ones with the kinky hair, etc. You already know our description. So all of these things stood out to me. I know, you know, there are artifacts everywhere. You don't necessarily have to go to a museum. I mean, just looking at that building on the corner, that's an artifact, that's a museum, it's a lot of history. I haven't seen everything, but I know y'all are all familiar, more familiar than I am. But it's always important to travel with your eyes wide open, already knowing who you are, so that when you see certain things, they don't just stick with you if it's not correct. You know what I mean? Prime example, that quote South Baptist Church. It's just not ever going to sit right. You know what I mean? Because we know better than that. That the Hebrews are really more cousins of Moabites, Moors. We are all family. So just knowing when you see your history, you know, you have to have your eyes wide open, which is why it's important to study beforehand, you know, so that when you do scan the land, you already know that that's a Moorish building. I can tell by the architecture, it's probably history in the building. If you get a chance to go in and analyze with your eyes wide open, you know, these are different things that will bring revelations to you that you would never get in school, not ever again, not in the European institutions anyway. The children are never going to get it in those institutions either. So with that being said, like, there is a big responsibility on our hands. Like you said, other nations don't do this like that. They teach their history, but I think maybe we could say we were, and still are, the largest empire, so we fell a little harder, you know what I mean, than certain people who might have got just removed from their village or whatnot. Like, all of this history is interrelated to the Moorish Empire.
The other question is, if you say that we are Moors and we are indigenous to this land right here, I understand everything was one before. That I got clear. But if we are Moors from Morocco or whatever, then it should be pretty simple. It shouldn't be that complicated for us to understand, correct? I got that. When you throw something so simple as you're this, it should be easy to understand. Because you can see this, or you can touch it, or whatever. Just like you have other people have their history, like you said. There has to be history. So you should be able to present it and say, here you go, right here. Boom. I understand the book. I'm just trying to understand.
Well, you know what? Why don't you come on down?
You know, I love the innocence and the simplicity of your statement. And I have seen, and I'm sure Cujo has seen, many people who, I've seen them. Well, if it's really the law, then it's really the law. Let's go do it. And that's when you find out, no, there's a reason why you're being blocked from being who you are. Why do you think the Prophet, Bro.Larry, and others that call themselves leaders with the wrong way, maybe, say, well, you know, we got to come up with this uplifting form of humanity, right? There's a problem. Because if I can say to this brother who's been saying for years, or sister, or whatever, especially to the sisters, who are the ones who create the babies and put them into society and didn't teach them who they were from the womb out. That's what the importance is about this. It's not about, you know, because that's their duty. As society starts with family, so does the authority to govern. So these things are lacking from the people. So therefore, even if someone said it, like you said, as simple as it is, if it's not in the brain, if it's not on the mind, if you're indoctrinated to believe something else about who you are, then it doesn't become that simple. It's been generations and generations of lies about who we are and us believing that we are this. Like, the biggest one is the enslavement. We walk around with this emotion about the fact that we are the slaves, and when really the first slaves was Europeans. Do we know that? No. So without having that knowledge, you can't put into perspective the simplicity that it seems that it ought to be for us to accept those words. It seems simple, it is simple, but there's something else going on. And it's called the mental slavery and the hard-heartedness of our people because of what has been instilled. So now, I've seen people as simple as that is. Oh, well, it's just simple, and it's just the law. And they go up against it and say, oh, did you not know that this was the cloak that for us, you know, to keep you in this yoke that we want to keep you in? Brother just said, if we rise to find who we are, they all fall. Because they have built a society, built on that lie in order for them to feed their babies. You got babies up here. In order for them to feed their babies, they have been infringing upon their rights. Now, you stand up and do it the right way, and all of a sudden they got to go get a job. They're telling you, you got to get a job, but this is your estate, right? So you look at the municipalities, right? They're telling you what to do. They're stalking you on the street as highwaymen, for real. And think about it for a minute. They're corporations, supposed to be government, but they're corporations. What do they create? What do they produce? What do they produce?
I got it. I understand that.
Now, the part that you're having a hard time understanding is that if this is so simple, why should you just go for it? It's the blockage of the mental slavery. And I will add this. The first thing that happens to most of our people, which I call exorcism, and a lot of times we gonna stay. Yeah, we just gave you that information, we dropped that information, you go study it, right? We're gonna go over here until you have your exorcism because you're gonna throw up on us, and we don't want to be thrown up on. Because what people do is they have an emotional what do you call it? Attachment, but they deal with it emotionally. Look what this one man done to us, that kind of thing. You got to get clear of all of that in order to intelligently deal with this.
Okay.
The stress to our people is we must research the language that we speak. That is imperative. because words that you're speaking have denotative and connotative meaning.
It's the spell.
Truth and falseness. Also, we got to understand that there were glyphs, artwork, or pictures before there was letters and words. We must study our symbols. Because once you start to see those symbols, you wake up. I tell people, you see a symbol every day and you don't activate. China on the cable, the Eye of Heru.
Yes.
But do not activate. So we must understand that there's artwork and structures that we must see. And I'm going to tell you one thing, you use symbols every day, hieroglyphs every day, and don't even notice. They call emojis. I say you have whole conversations with just emojis. That's glyphs in another form. So understand who you are as far as your ancient self, and you will wake your ancient self up in this modern time.
They see the worship verse, they call it the negative verse.
Here's the divine, the prophet said this is a divine and national movement. So we've been talking a lot about the divine side and stepping out on the faith of what you know. That's the truth, no matter what they tell you. About stepping out on faith of Jesus, Lord Christ, all that. Now, faith on what you know, because you are divine law manifest in the flesh. So that's why it's divine first. So you can't go anywhere where people say, well, I'm going to do the divine side and you do the national side. Right away, you know that's not right. He didn't say divine and or national. No, he said divine and national. So the divinity part comes first. So it's just this simple, another simplistic one. The trust, and people run around doing trust and stuff. Oh, I don't know what they're doing trust and stuff. The earth and the resources of the earth is your inheritance while you're here.
That's true.
All right? The earth and the resources of the earth, and you are the beneficiary to that. The first trustee of that. Right? So it is an express trust, right? Why? Express it. The word. That's it. Because like the sister said, the words, somebody said something about the words. The words you say cast spells. That's why when you learn to spell in school, young sister, it's called spelling. Because you're casting spells. Don't mean it's wicked, but it means if your words are not right, that's what jurisdiction means. Juris is right and diction is word. Right words. So that's it. It's an express trust. That's why the prophet said, you know what? If you didn't get this right this second, tell you what, you don't do nothing else. Nothing. You better declare that nationality. Declare yourself, and then you can study and get your rest. Because I'm telling you now, study. That's why.
Yes, Islam fam, shalom to you. I just want to thank personally Sister Roz and Miss Rahim and Brother Cujo. I'm defining. We talk many times, brother. But I want to thank you all for what you do, because you're bringing forth information to our people who have been in darkness for so long. And the information that's coming forth is liberating. And especially when it's in your DNA, when you hear truth, it resonates with you. You know, the evidence is all around us. We just got to open our eyes up. And we talked about earlier in the Hebrew side, I came from that Hebrew degree as well. And I had to elevate a little bit out of that, even though that's our ancient history. And I claim that, the language itself. And it says in the book of Yeshayahu, decree a thing and it shall be established. That means you have to speak words out of your mouth for a thing to be established. And that's what our prophet did. He spoke things out of his mouth and things were established. Okay? We have to go back to the mindset of our ancient forefathers and mothers and start thinking like they did. And that comes back to going back to learning the etymology and what words mean, so we can put them in its proper context. And so we have to enforce the Constitution. And if we don't do it, guess what? We lose another generation. And another generation, our babies up there, because we're not motivated enough to go out there and challenge the powers that be. So we want to enforce the Constitution. That means we have to stand. This brother went there, he enforced the Constitution. He didn't do it just for himself. He did it for the rest of us, so he can pave the way for us when we have to deal with property taxes. Because if he did it, we can do it. But we have to get the knowledge that they have, okay? And be confident in the fact that we have this ancient knowledge and they can't take it away from us. But if we give it over to them, guess what? We won't be molested, as the prophet says. We won't be molested by other citizens. So I just want to thank our brothers and sisters for the job that they're doing and appreciate you so much.
Not for nothing, I know it's on time. But this is why we gotta study the prophet's work. Because he asked the question and gave the answer. And it's really more or less about correcting what was misrepresented. Because he asked, can a man be a Negro, black, or colored person? And the answer was no. It's something you could never be. Though you may be misrepresented on records, that's just something to correct. Thus, declaring your nationality is the key. That's